We are Gujarati-speaking community. And today, if you look at other Gujarati-speaking community, they are making sure that their children learn Gujarati or Urdu or Hindi. Why? Because today the whole economic shift is towards the east. Gujarat has become the powerhouse. So culturally, we also have to take into consideration that our children do not lose out from the culture that we came from. That's our Gujarati culture. But having said that, we have to make sure that we analyze, now having had this opportunity of majalises up and down, as to what is the best way forward. And I think that will be the analysis for the next time, because I don't want to go into that at this moment, because the audience have to be right, because we have to make sure that those people who are functioning these type of majalises are here to also present their case. So it's very important to listen to the community as a whole, particularly those people who are working in that area.
Anybody else with any other comments or observations? Said
Sibtain, thank you very much for bringing up something at least to start with. My first observation is that our values are already diluted a lot. To start the project like you are suggesting, we have to have a warm-up session where we have to, adults, remind ourselves what our values are. You look at the politics. I want to press a point, and very conveniently, I will just press ahead with my point of view, regardless of that whether it is true, it is beneficial or not. More important for me is my personal point is pursued, and I can achieve that goal, whatever I'm thinking of doing that. Truthfulness is gone out of us. On the family side, if you look at it, we are not meeting with our brothers. We are more friendly with our neighbors than our own brothers and sisters. And that is a fact of the matter. So that Sila Rahim and meeting the first unit is family. Coming to the madrasa and family, family is the first step of madrasa. They are not integrated. You send a child for 4 hours here, and at home, the rest of the 6 days, we are not putting enough effort to train our kids. So instead of enhancing madrasa, I think we should enhance the family to take more positive role in the training of the children with a positive approach. At the moment, we don't have a positive approach. You, like Secretary Sahib is sitting there, President is here, you ask them, then they go into a meeting and discuss the points. So many times you see the person who's raising the point is almost convinced it is not right, but he will still insist on that only on the grounds because he is the one who's presenting it. And then again, we work into groups. Irrespective of that, who's saying the truth, we will favor a particular group. That is very common thing, and I think you yourself know that very well. So first, we have to, first 2 things need to be done. First, we have to, awareness in the family, they have to take a major role in madrasa, in the training of the kids, than madrasa. Madrasa can't train the kids in 40 weeks. Probably 4 hours a day, 160 weeks a year. They can't train it. Bombardment of the secular values are so much in the society, in the TV, in the school, in the college and university, outside. Kids can't cope with it. And believe it or not, vast majority of our kids, those pious type of boys which we are seeing, the youngsters, are living a double standard life. When they go out, their standards are totally different when the standards what you see inside the mosque. And if you just try to observe a bit further, you will come to this. So before we start anything, first thing, we have to remind ourselves what our values are, and we remind ourselves to stand for the truth. And second thing is, we ask the family, as a community, we ask the mothers and fathers, and unfortunately, by moving to the West, what the biggest damage done to the community was that the role of the grandparents was thrown out of from this. 70s, grandparents can't speak English. They could have trained the kids. but their role was finished, and that role hasn't come back. Grandparents and elders' roles has to come back in the society, in the family. Family unit need to be enhanced, and we first of all ourselves remind that when we tell our kid on every Sunday that ghibat is haram, we talk on the phone for 1 hour doing the ghibat. At least we try to mend ourselves. We can't change totally. We try to do something. Our action and our teaching doesn't go along. Thank you very much. We will talk some other time. I have got lots to say.
Thank you, Syed Bhai. I take these contributions very seriously, and I hope that you will fire a DVD for me so that all these contributions, I'll take it home with me. Okay, thank you.
We intend to put this seminar online as well, so that if anybody can want to listen later on
Yeah.
in future, that will be inshallah will.
I think I'll invite a last question or an observation if anybody has to make. We are coming up to the end of the session now. Yes, my son.
Assalamu alaikum. Sibtain, I just have one question. I appreciate it's not a short question as well. You showed on your PowerPoint presentation how each of those three institutions would move to a more nafsi or akhlaqi or a taqwa end result. Who do we as a community entrust to take us, and by extension those three institutions, on that journey? Do we have a capable intelligentsia, or do we have capable individuals to take us there? Because, for instance, taking Syed Saab's point earlier about the families, everyone has their own different way of how they should proceed and gain more taqwa. Now, in this society where there are so many influences, and some of those influences also are from within Islam as well, and are targeting specifically the madhab of Ahlul Bayt, who do we trust to take us on those journeys? Because obviously, well, perhaps not obviously, but presumably we can't just entrust that task to anyone.
Yeah, thank you very much. In order to answer your question, we have to look at what we are doing at the moment. Who are we entrusting at this moment in time to run our institutions like Mimbar and Madrasa? And so when we think about how we are going to move forward in this way, the very people who are already entrusted to run the institutions are experienced enough for us to understand the challenges that they are having. So that's one aspect, that what are their practical challenges? They are doing their work very sincerely. And if we need religious guidance, or if we need any administrative guidance, then we have our own leaders where we go to for administrative purposes. For religious purposes, we have a very good history as a community. We have always relied upon our marja. We have interacted with them very well. And when we have a problem that we cannot resolve within ourselves, that our own scholars within our community cannot resolve, then we will go to the marja finally for guidance. So we have avenues available for us to guide us into such path. So as far as the practical solutions are concerned, we already have people on the ground working. What we need to do is to sit with them and work out that in view of the challenges that we have, are we sufficiently resourced or not in all aspects of that particular institution, whether it is a teaching, whether it is building, whether it is the content, whether we are giving justice to the work of Ahlul Bayt, are we? So all these questions have to be answered by sitting with the very people who are running the institutions. And then, of course, the guidance are available from our own scholars. Our own community have got wonderful scholars now. And then beyond that, our marja. In our development since since the beginning of the community, since Ayatollah Zainul Abidin Mazandarani, from him down to Ayatollah Sistani, we have always sought the guidance and we have always interacted with our marja where we are not able to resolve our issues and our problem. I hope that begins to you.
Just a quick follow-up. Thank you. Are the people that are in charge of the institutions necessarily the best people to take us on that journey? Because, I mean, there isn't to criticize who they are. We recognize that they do the work sincerely. But many of them, in their capacity as volunteers, are only engaging with that responsibility just in their free time, so to speak. They're not doing it on a professional basis, meaning that they're not being able to put their whole time and effort into that. So for instance, if you take the madrasa as an example, the vast majority of teachers in the madrasa are not necessarily people who are in the teaching profession. Perhaps the people who are in charge of the administration aren't necessarily involved in the administration of schools. So are they necessarily the best people to be taking us towards a better place, so to speak? And also, I accept the point that the people who are in charge, we already have people who are in charge of the institutions, but also the viewpoint of each one will obviously differ. If you took, for instance, the 10 heads of madrasa throughout the UK and asked them this question, you may get 10 different responses. That doesn't mean to say that they're all wrong, but where do we decide and who gets to decide? And on what basis are those decisions made?
But that's the challenge before us at the moment, that our institutions, are they well resourced or not? And that is where the solution would have to come. Now, as to your question as who are the best people, not necessarily the voluntary force will be the best people to move us forward. It's possible that we may have to introduce some expertise within the force to make sure that we achieve the end result that we want. But that's the challenge that we face. Today, what we must do is to at least analyze where we are at. And we have to make sure that have we got enough infrastructural resources there to move into areas where we can overcome these challenges that I have just proposed. So if there isn't, then there is a gap there. And if there is a gap, what do we need to do? If we need to buy in more resources, more alims within our setup, making sure that those scholars are the ones who will drive the madrasa, then if we decide on it, then we will have to work at it and fulfill these obligations and put the right infrastructures. So that's the challenge before us. This is the reason why we are doing this analysis. I hope that when we do the analysis on madrasa, all these things are there. But we need to sit together. And no matter how much diverse the opinions are, at the end of the day, the challenge before us and the skill that we require is to make sure that we arrive at a consensus. And that's how we will move forward. But at least we have achieved so far a result of madrasa that we see. What we need to do now is to move up, to evolve into another position, perhaps a better position, perhaps a more structured position infrastructurally, perhaps more resource-based, perhaps the Jamaat now making sure that the madrasas are properly resourced to fulfill their objectives, which is to produce a child worth having both the religious education and the secular education from madrasa.
Thank you, Sibtain Bhai, for your very informative and thought-provoking talk. I'm very grateful to you to have accepted to come and deliver this lecture. I wish I could have drawn, again, as I said, more people to this talk, but I'm not disappointed. And inshallah, I may be able, with the consensus in my C, may be able to move some agenda forward on the issues that you have highlighted. I also thank you to the, I also am grateful to you, the audience, whoever you have been able to come and spend your time here. I hope you have found this also thought-provoking as well. And lastly, we do have some tabarruk as well. We have got some tea and something as well, so please don't go away. And we conclude this now with ziyarah.